Hey, my friends, we will be right back to the show. But I have a question for you. Are you struggling with the impact of childhood trauma? Well, know that you're not alone. I'm here to let you know that I'm starting a brand new weekly coaching group that includes a year of life coaching, accountability, support, habit and goal setting, and more. I'm starting a waitlist for the group right now, and I'm only taking a handful of people. And I'll let you know that through this personalized coaching, we'll work together to help you understand how your childhood trauma has shaped your beliefs, behaviors, emotions, and will help you create a roadmap for healing and growth. Right now, you can schedule an absolutely free coaching session with me and get put on the wait list if you go to thinkunbroken.com. My friends, it's your time to turn your trauma into triumph, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and become the hero of your own story. And I'm here to support you in doing that. Just go to thinkunbroken.com to register for a free coaching call with me and to get put on the wait list for the brand new weekly coaching program. We'll be right back to the show. But before we do, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, factormeals.com, where if you go to factormeals.com/unbroken50 and use the code unbroken50, you can get 50% off your first order. That's factormeals.com/unbroken50. If you're like me and you are a person who is busy trying to create a life, heal, work on their health, wealth, and relationships, and not to mention deal with the day-to-days of normal life, you do not have time to be going to the grocery store and trying to figure out what you're going to cook every single day of the week. In fact, one time I did the math and I realized I was spending over 15 hours a week at the grocery store and cooking. When I added Factor, I got to use that time for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my community, and for my business. And so if you're in the place where you need some more support in the kitchen, head to factormeals.com/unbroken50 and use the code unbroken50 to get 50% off. Hey, my friends, we will be right back to the show. But I have a question for you. Are you struggling with the impact of childhood trauma? Well, know that you're not alone. I'm here to let you know that I'm starting a brand new weekly coaching group that includes a year of life coaching, accountability, support, habit and goal setting, and more. I'm starting a waitlist for the group right now, and I'm only taking a handful of people. And I'll let you know that through this personalized coaching, we'll work together to help you understand how your childhood trauma has shaped your beliefs, behaviors, emotions, and will help you create a roadmap for healing and growth. Right now, you can schedule an absolutely free coaching session with me and get put on the wait list if you go to thinkunbroken.com. My friends, it's your time to turn your trauma into triumph, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and become the hero of your own story. And I'm here to support you in doing that. Just go to thinkunbroken.com to register for a free coaching call with me and to get put on the wait list for the brand new weekly coaching program. Hey, my friends, we will be right back to the show. But I have a question for you. Are you struggling with the impact of childhood trauma? Well, know that you're not alone. I'm here to let you know that I'm starting a brand new weekly coaching group that includes a year of life coaching, accountability, support, habit and goal setting, and more. I'm starting a waitlist for the group right now, and I'm only taking a handful of people. And I'll let you know that through this personalized coaching, we'll work together to help you understand how your childhood trauma has shaped your beliefs, behaviors, emotions, and will help you create a roadmap for healing and growth. Right now, you can schedule an absolutely free coaching session with me and get put on the wait list if you go to thinkunbroken.com. My friends, it's your time to turn your trauma into triumph, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and become the hero of your own story. And I'm here to support you in doing that. Just go to thinkunbroken.com to register for a free coaching call with me and to get put on the wait list for the brand new weekly coaching program. Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? Hope that you're doing well wherever you are in the world today. I'm very excited to be back with you with another episode with my guest, Stefan Stefansson, who is a men's relationship coach. And I've been very much looking forward to this conversation personally. What is up, my friend? How are you today?
I'm really, really good. Except I'm really boiling. I'm sitting in London. London or UK is not good for high temperatures, and we have had not that it's very hot for you guys, probably in 80s, 90s. It's like
Yeah.
35 degrees Celsius. And yeah, we're struggling over here. But I'm good apart from that.
Yeah.
I mean, for my that hot weather doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about that. I was like, man, your body just is not built for that. But you know what? Like everything in life, we adapt, right? We create change.
Absolutely.
We figure out how to, continue to persevere, hot weather or not.
Exactly.
Before we get in this conversation, which we're going to talk about some really incredible topics today, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of your journey to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. My background and journey, what then led me to this actually conversation, is that I have had some experience, kind of broken relationships, and had some not so much kind of focus on myself as I went through it. And what I found with what this journey kind of led me to is that I have two very long relationships behind me, one broken marriage, where as I went through them, I didn't really realize what I was actually missing or what I was doing wrong a lot of the times. So after my divorce, after being with that person for about 6 years, I started to do a lot of self-reflection and trying to understand. And I'm coming from a very stable background, so it was quite of a shock to me when my marriage kind of failed, and I tried everything that I thought possible to kind of trying to retrieve it and then kind of save it. And then as I went down this journey of kind of self-help books, self-discovery, I tried everything, like text her to bed, and all the things that you could find of how to try to save your marriage. And as I went through that, I started to realize how I am as a person hadn't really grown, and how I kind of started seeing patterns in my own behavior that led to kind of the marriage kind of failing. And but as well, like there takes two obviously for things not to work out. So as I went through this, I always remembered having very much wanted to improve myself. It's always been one of my things for myself. I always wanted to improve, and so I put a lot of effort into that. And then as that kind of progressed, uh, I obviously kind of saw other people in the similar situations, and a lot of the times I kind of find myself a lot of times people when I'm going to a parties and they kind of ask about what background, I'm kind of open about what my situation is. People open up to me as well. So I felt this is something I could share with other people. Specifically, I think a lot of this has to do with men are not always very good in relationships, and there are certain patterns that men do that lead down to a road that things cannot go very well. So I kind of started reflecting on that, and then somebody suggested to me maybe you should look into going down the coaching path. I signed up to a coaching course where it was like a year coaching coach. Out of that, I got a certificate out of the International Coaching Federation. So it's one of those kind of certifications. And out of that, as we went through that, I kind of we had to pick a niche that was actually resonated with you for your coaching. And then for me was, as I was starting to think about it more and more, thinking of the journey I went through my relationships, and how I kind of didn't really realize the kind of the failures I was doing, or where I was not attentive enough or not focused enough, that I kind of helmed into this kind of focus of wanting to help other men, knowing my own experience and kind of knowing what can potentially help you to be a better person and a more whole individual and a more present person in our relationships. And that's kind of got me to here is want to share my story and hopefully see if it resonates with other people and I can help some people.
Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? Just want to take a moment and invite you to be my guest at Think Unbroken Conference this November. That's right. Think Unbroken is hosting our Unbroken Con for free. It's 5 days of trauma transformation information with myself, special guests, and even some of the leading experts in trauma education from around the world. For 5 days, we're going to jump into what it means to actually take the steps to be unbroken. All you have to do is register for free at unbrokencon.com. That's unbrokencon.com. That's right. 5 days of trauma transformation information with me, special guests, and some of the world's leading trauma trained experts for free for 5 days this November. More details to come. But in the meantime, go to unbrokencon.com to register, and I'll see you there.
Yeah, I love that. And I think so frequently for us, this journey is about turning our pain into purpose, is about taking those aspects of our life that for many people, and look, I think to be honest, and especially as men, you know, our understanding of what it means to be a man is often very askew from reality, right? It's work hard, make a lot of money, have a great car, be super fit, but don't be emotional, don't cry, go chop fucking wood in the backyard on Saturdays. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the whole story, right? That can't be the whole story. What were the insights that you had in terms of yourself as you were going through this to realize like there's something here that doesn't actually make sense with how I was raised or how I grew up or these ideas that I had about manhood versus what I think it actually should be?
Like for me, there was kind of two things that got. So I have two long relationships behind me, and obviously some shorter ones. The two long ones were like 6 years each. And I come from a very secure background where my parents met. They were at school when they're in their late teens, early 20s. Got married around that time. Still married today. They're in the 80s today. So they were very, and I don't really remember them arguing much, except now in the later years when they're getting on one another nerves because they're getting older. And but all the friendships around them was very secure. So my perception of a happy relationship was um, being there for the person and just stick it through and get to an end. Uh, so I had some issues as well when I was growing up. I had some self doubts, and my self esteem was very very low. So when I got into my first relationship, I was in a place where somebody wanted to be with me. So I was like, wow, that was awesome. So I wasn't really
I
focusing. It
get
was
that.
never it was very naive, and it comes to what you said before. It's like that was very superficial. It's like I have somebody, like I wasn't really thinking what I wanted out of the relationship. I didn't really have a view. I just wanted to be in a relationship. And then as that went through, I didn't really understand what it was. And it was very naive, and I wasn't really present, and I wasn't really paying attention. So that kind of came to an end because I wasn't really planning ahead. I wasn't really thinking, are we getting married or anything like that. And the person I'm with, for some reason, she wasn't really bringing it up either. So, but I think it was more of my side is that like what I find with a lot of men is that they're not really thinking what are they want out of the relationship. As you mentioned
Mm,
before, they want to be able to earn the money, they want to be able to provide for the family, they want to have a good lifestyle, the car, the house, and so on. But what do you actually really want out of the relationship? What is the relationship before? And then my second relationship was the total opposite. I was so focused on thinking now I was going to get married. I needed to sacrifice myself into this relationship and to please the other person and make sure that other person was happy.
mm,
So I lost myself from the other side. So I kind of flipped the coin totally from being totally hands off to overly bearing and like wanted to do everything, wanted to say everything and be there for the person. And so that was not helpful in either of those of the situations. So in my mind, I think a lot of this time is what do you need to invest. It's the strongest thing what you as an individual need to invest in is that what do you want out of the situation you're in. And I think we don't do enough self-reflection on that particular point, I feel.
Do you do you think that is because now obviously in the framework of men, but I think in people in general, why do you think people are not stating what they want or what they need out of a relationship? Is it fear? Is it, maybe they're scared of the potential of success? Like, what is it that you think is keeping people from being able to have the kind of relationship that they want to have?
So if we talk about both sexes, I think that's the fear of rejection, or fear of uh, being rejected or turned down. It's like an individual story would be like everybody has come through, especially men. I mean, you maybe it happened to me. So it was in San Francisco when in my kind of a single times. I would go in a bar, travel quite a bit for my work. So I would always when I traveled, I always make a point of not just staying in the hotel, going out, having a dinner, and maybe having a drink. And then there's one particular evening, I'm in a bar in San Francisco, and I'm nursing my drink, and this lady comes in and sits next to me, and she looks um, very approachable, kind of wanted to strike up a conversation, and I kind of started that whole self-talk. I should I do it now? Should I do it now? And then I finally get up the courage in asking her, and she says blatantly no. And I was like, whoa. And that kind of totally kind of knocked the wind out of myself. Then shortly after, I like crawl out of that bar, like rejected, and like, what's wrong with me? Like, was something in my teeth, or all that kind of like horrible self-doubt comes in, flowing in such a huge um, focus. Is that a lot of that time? I think people are so scared of that rejection or opening themselves up to vulnerability that they always think of the worst thing, and they always project it on themselves. It's like there must be something wrong with me. In this case, this lady could be she was waiting for somebody, or she wasn't really in that mood to talk to anybody. So it's more. I think one of those focuses just don't always make it about yourself. It's things. I think it's whatever you always. It's like when you always like tend to compare this with treat yourself as your best friend. So let's your friend is doing something awesome, and he comes up to you and says, "How was I?" You would never say to him, if you're a true friend, "You were horrible. You should never do that again." You always try to back him up and always say something nice to him. And I think a lot of the time we need to focus on that ourselves. We can't be so hard on ourselves all the time. And I think for men as well, going then to the men specific focus is that we are very afraid of opening ourselves up to any intimacy, because again it comes out we are not masculine enough, we are weak, she will look down on me, and I don't want to, so we kind of tend to put up a shield of everything's okay.
How do you step into intimacy while still remaining masculine, for whatever that means for you? And obviously masculinity is going to be different for everybody. Everyone has their own definition, but how do you, instead of having that feeling like if I'm intimate, people will look down on me and I won't be strong and I'll be emasculated, how do you do both? How can you be a man in the way that you choose and want to be a man, but also be intimate and have that thing that you're seeking?
I think a couple of things in my mind, at least. So one is have opinion in a relationship. So if somebody asks you a question, have opinion on that question. But you can say that that's my opinion. We can decide then what if like men tend to do quite a lot is the woman says, "Let's go out on a date. Let's go somewhere. Where should we go?" And you say, and the man will say, "Wherever you want there," thinking by doing that we're pleasing her, allowing her to choose. But sometimes they want you to be present and make a decision, or have at least opinion of what they should be doing. So I think that's very important. The other thing as well, and it comes as well, knowing what you want out of it. Uh, because if you don't know what you want out of it, then you don't really have opinion on what your relationship should look like. And I think those two things are very important from a masculine perspective. Is that knowing what you want, have an opinion on things that people want you to do, and then to express those opinions and those wants and needs, because you can be very masculine and then do everything as like as you go chop the wood and make the money and all that kind of thing, but that's just very small part of being a whole, a masculine, or I prefer to kind of focus it on as like a high value man, or a um, maybe not the right word, like a gentleman. That's how I always brought up. Uh, and it's not always about opening the door, or things like that, but it's still offering. I know women as well now want to be treated equal and all that kind of thing. But I think in everyone wants sometimes to be treated nicely, um, like somebody is chivalrous, somebody that does something for you. It doesn't mean that you're being made any less valued, but it's just that people show up. I think it's the kind of the main focus, I think.
Yeah, is part of that having the willingness to face the fear of rejection to be able to state what you need? Because, I go and I look back at relationships I've had in the past, and like you, on both sides, I've been this person who I did everything the other person needed, and then on the other side, I did nothing that the other person needed. And so, you live on both sides of these spectrums. How do you kind of navigate being able to get your needs met and meet the needs of the partner or the people that you're with?
I think that comes down to very strong communication, or not strong, but like open communication. That is because I think as well. There's a, I found this video the other day, and I think it's been around for a very long time. It's called "It's Not About the Nail," and um, and it's basically this couple sitting on the sofa, and the girl has a nail coming out of her head, and she's describing all these headaches and this pain, and the guy is all about, yeah, just take out the nail, we'll fix everything. And we as men are very solution oriented. That's just how we function. We're very, just go fix it. It's on over. But sometimes in a lot of these cases, it's just sitting there listening and not always come up with the solutions. I think it comes down to just being present. A lot of people are focusing on is that you need to be able to do an active listening to the other person and let the other person finish. Because I think the other thing with communication, we tend to, and this comes back to the whole fear of rejection, is that we're very quick wanting to defend ourselves, and then we talk over the other person, and then that escalates into really, really just mudslinging, whatever can happen out of that. But if you sometimes, and then misunderstanding as well, if you don't let the other person finish, because we are not masters in communication, uh, a lot of people, and sometimes it just we need to let the other kind of other person try to express themselves without the fear of being kind of bullied, or kind of talked down to, or just yeah. So that person knows that they're in a safe space and can actually finish the conversation and have an open conversation of what they're actually trying to achieve or want out of their relationships. I think it's quite important.
Yeah, and I love what you said about not being defensive, right? Because I think innately, I think anytime that as human beings we're in communication with each other and there's anything that might bring awareness to an inconsistency or a flaw or however you want to phrase it, like we throw up these giant walls. And, sometimes I think that those very things that the people around us are mirroring back to us, they're doing that not to hurt us, not to insult us, but instead to say, hey, like, are you actually paying attention to this thing over here? And
Yeah.
it's really easy to be defensive about that. Are there other communication tools that you think people need to be utilizing other than, uh, I don't even want to say waiting your turn, but just sitting in silence and allowing the other person to express their needs? Are there other communication tools that we should be considering when we're having back and forth with people in these intimate conversations?
I think as like everybody talks about, like when there's something bothering you, everybody talks about using the I. Like, I feel that you are not listening to me. I feel we're always doing what you are doing. So it makes the statement that way, that you not, like, you're always doing this, you're always doing that. So it's not attacking that person. I think it's very important. And then the other thing is it's a kind of a being acknowledge of what the other person is saying. So sometimes the other tool that people talk about is kind of showing acceptance or reiterate what they just said. So you actually mean that we are not doing. So the other person kind of understands that you were actually listening and you actually understood what the problem is. But I think a lot of these times, I think you need to find a way of being kind of a present in the conversation, and as well, I think, or know what you want out of it in regards to where the end point is. So you're not just having an argument and then leaving it. So actually, to kind of figuring out a way to kind of achieve the end goal or what the situation is supposed to be. And I think what I find as well in my current relationship is that now that I've kind of done more reflection, I find more what I'm feeling now is that I'm much more aware when there is frustration going on between me and my fiance. Is that there's sometimes we've started an argument or not making an argument or discussion, but then the discussion is actually not about what we're talking about. It's something other underlying thing, and I'm getting more kind of astute of understanding that now. But it's not easy to have that kind of a patience to listen through what is actually being said, and maybe turn and pick up on a little kind of little nuances that the kind of the conversation starts around. Because I find sometimes, at least in my situation, is that this conversation will start on something, but then the whole conversation is about something totally different. But that doesn't come till that other person is comfortable enough to trust you what actually she wants to talk about.
Yeah, and I think that part's excessively difficult, right? Because as men, and especially if you're being defensive in communication, that leads to outbursts, that leads to having freak out moments, self-sabotaging behavior. A lot of that is based on the trauma experiences in communication from our youth.
Hey, Unbroken Nation, we'll be right back to the show, but I wanted to let you know that you can grab a copy of my first book, Think Unbroken, Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma, for free. If you go to book.thinkunbroken.com, you can download the PDF ebook version of the book and get everything that I know about the baseline of healing trauma for free, downloaded to your email right now. Just go to book.thinkunbroken.com to download your copy of Think Unbroken, Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma for a PDF for your phone. Again, that is book.thinkunbroken.com.
And, even in this conversation with you, I'm thinking to myself, I remember so many times having conversations with partners over the years where it's like there's a giant argument about nothing.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second, like what is actually going on here? How do you get deeper into creating that space where both your partner and yourself have the ability to have vulnerability, to have the conversation about what is actually happening?
So I want to come back to it. The other thing I want to touch as well, what I found as well with my previous relationship is this self-sabotaging aspect into it, where you kind of set up the kind of the scene that because men can be very good at making sure the relationship end because they don't know how to end the relationship. So you stop texting straight away. You keep changing your mind in the last minute, things like that. So I think with that, it's very important as well. Again, you know what you want of the relationship, and you need to communicate what you want in the beginning. I think the more open you are about your communication in the beginning of a relationship, the more you get what you want out of the relationship. Coming back to what your question was, is it's about the trust of when you express what you want out of the relationship, that you know the person that you're talking to is actually listening to what you're saying, and then at the same time the other way around, then when that person is kind of communicating, it's about having that trusted, secure environment that both parties feel they can actually have a conversation without the other person storming out of the room or jumping over the on top of their words every time. And I think it comes a lot of the time is because somebody's just so afraid, or their self-esteem is so low that they take it very personally, so they need to defend themselves straight away. It's almost like kind of that saying of you never never back somebody into a corner because they will come out fighting, right? And it's about not making the other person feel that they have been backed into a corner that they need to come out fighting. It's about that you are in an open space and you open communication, and then you have that trust and the respect. And I think it comes very strongly about the respect with that other person, that the other person can actually communicate for themselves. I think that's very important when it comes to communication, that the both person feel respected.
Yeah. And I think that creates a parameter of safety so that when inevitably you have difficult conversations, which will happen, I think it's funny that we all, because of probably movies and music and things of this nature, we think all of it's happy and, roses and sunshine all the time, but it's just not. We're humans. And I think that you're spot on. Like you have to create that space to have that safe and powerful communication. You talked about really important how it is to at the beginning to talk about what you want and expectations. Is it as simple as talking? Should people be writing like agreements and contracts? Should this be in writing? Like like how do you make this solidified?
That's the thing. There's no silver bullet in any of this. But the strongest thing is for me, and that my focus with when I'm kind of helping um, the men that I talk to is about making yourself focus on yourself, making yourself a whole person, and making yourself a strong, self-assured person that is comfortable with in their own skin. In regards to if you're not comfortable and you're not happy, if you not have goals what you want to achieve, nobody's going to do that for you, and it shouldn't be anybody else's focus to do so. Yes, as a partners, yeah, you will strive and you will have goals together, but at the end of the day, you are responsible for yourself, nobody else. And if you don't kind of it's like if you put if you put all this effort to have the six packs and looking good, why should you not be doing the same thing of looking good and being healthy on the inside from the mental side of things? And I see much more, and there's quite a lot of talk in UK at the moment of men and going too far, and taking their own lives. Is that I think a lot of us as men are getting very confused at the moment in regards to the Me Too movement and so on. And I'm all for it, and it's very strong. But at the same time, men need to focus on themselves and be respectful and show up as a respectful individual in a society that is actually happy to be around himself. And I think that's kind of comes down to your individual, that you need to be a whole individual.
Yeah, and the same thing is happening in the States too. I mean, especially post-COVID. I mean, if we're even post-COVID, I don't even know where we're at anymore. But the reality that suicide rate is higher than it's ever been. People in the military, they're not even reporting the suicide rates anymore because they're so astronomically high. Social media is playing this terrible, terrible influence in our lives. People are consuming more media. They're spending more time just distracted from reality, and which I get it, man. I mean, it's like, holy crap, life is really weird right now. And I think that having conversations like this hopefully will help give men many, many more tools and understanding, and hopefully knowing like you're not alone. Like we go through this too. It's funny, people will look at people who are now coaches and they're like, yeah, but what do you really know? What have you been through? And it's like, yeah, but you're on the backside of your own struggles, your own experiences. For those listening who have struggled with mental health, who have self-sabotaged, who have faced, massive fear and intimacy and connection, and they want to be this high value man. They want to be a man who, most importantly, like loves themselves, right? First, because you cannot be filled up by other people. That will never happen.
Yep.
What are some things that men can be doing today, like literally starting right now, to step into that place of being a man of value for themselves first?
I think the first and the foremost is to give yourself a break. Allow yourself that not everything has to be perfect. And I think it's as well, it's focusing. There's a term called the spotlight effect, and then we all fall into this. If you ever remember walking down the street, and across the street, you notice somebody's waving at you, and you kind of, I've never seen this person. Well, you start to look around and you don't know, and then this person starts walking towards you, and you kind of, you must be knowing, so you put your hand up, but then this person walks past you, and you don't like, you're like, oh shit, everybody saw me, and I look like a fool. But in the reality, most likely, nobody noticed. But you're just so focused on everybody's looking at me. It's like when you go into a nightclub and you stand in the middle of a dance floor, it's like everybody's looking at me. And it's that kind of focus that we sometimes are just so worried about what other people are thinking that we don't really realize they have their own struggles. They're not really just focusing on you. And it's about being able to manage that expectation of, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be a little foolish now and then. The world is not going to end. What is the worst thing that come out of it? Okay, your feelings got hurt for like a minute, and then you're fine. And for me, it's being able to just step back from that situation, give it a breather, and it's never as bad as it is. And there's always a silver lining. Because I remember when I went through my divorce, and as I mentioned before, my role model as a married for marriage was my parents. And I've been married almost 60 years, 60 years next year. So it was devastating for me that I was getting divorced, and in my mind, the marriage wasn't that horrible. So I was distraught. I just couldn't believe this was happening to me, and then I just gave myself a little break, and then it kind of came a little bit as I started to talk to my friends and family as I went through this, and they were kind of pointing out to me maybe the marriage wasn't that great. There was problems here and there, and then I started, as I said, stepped back and started to looking for the silver lining. And I think that's one of my deepest kind of a realization out of going through my marriage was, even if the things are so bad, there's always something positive out of it. And now in hindsight, I'm actually getting married next week.
Amazing.
Found a new amazing person, and it's 6 years plus minus that I got divorced, and I can't wait to get married again. And it's just having that focus of not always beating yourself up, and just step back, give yourself a breather. You don't always have to be that perfect person, and just be that vulnerability, and as well. And I mean, a lot of people say like and I jokingly have a favorite term. Sometimes I say, just suck it up, but suck it up doesn't really help you. And it's about finding either work on yourself. It also, as well, it's very important you take responsibility and stop blaming other people for whatever happened, because it takes two. And if you do not take responsibility what your situation is in, it will not lead you into anything to learn from. You won't see that silver lining, and you won't learn from it. Because in my mind is that there's always experience that you can learn from. Because I feel like what I learn when I learn something the best is when I fail. And so we shouldn't be afraid of failure. And I think our society is very focused on creating champions that aren't really champions. Like people are talking about, like when you have kids and everybody gets a medal. Okay, I mean, it's nice, but it doesn't really give you a true reflection of what life is about. And it's okay to have a little bit of competitiveness, but at the same time, it is okay to fail, because if you don't fail, you don't improve. And so for me, it's about taking responsibility and be okay with that occasional embarrassment moment. That just move on, don't dwell on it.
And like you said, nobody's watching anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the really important things, and to not beat yourself up about it, and to not belittle yourself and put yourself down, because I don't know anyone who doesn't make mistakes. I don't know anyone who doesn't fail. I don't know anyone on planet Earth who has not had a moment where they're like, why did I just fucking do that? Right? Like we all have that. And it's like grace and compassion are a couple of the really, really difficult things that men step into. I know in my journey, I tell people all the time, singularly, the most difficult thing I've ever done is to learn to love myself, period.
Yep.
There's nothing more difficult. And I think that I know that if you're able to step into that, recognizing the biological and biochemical responses happening in your brain and these different stimulus, you're going to be able to get there. And it's just natural that on a long enough timeline, if you're showing up and you're executing and you're following through, your life will be different. And
Yeah.
and there are silver linings. I know it's hard to like think about that, right? Because you're like, my life is a freaking disaster. I'm in a divorce. My partner packed up and left. And then it's like, I hate to use this cliche, but time does heal all wounds. And the thing is, you have to be willing to grieve and suffer and be like, yeah, this sucks, and not run from it, not stuff it down. And I think the biggest part of that as individuals is learning to be vulnerable with yourself.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that the men listening and anyone listening to this today will come to this realization, like, it's okay, right? I mean, yeah, it sucks, but like, you're not dead. And so that means that you still have opportunity in front of you.
Absolutely agree. I couldn't agree more, because like it's like the other famous saying, "You are your worst enemy," right?
True.
And as I said before, would you ever kind of go up to your friend after he's done something amazing, and say that was horrible? Should never do that again. You wouldn't do that to your best friend. So why are you doing to yourself? So like I do understand, and you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier on the social media side of things, and it's that instant gratification. We live in a society now that we are just so focused on, oh, the Joneses next door just went on a holiday, or bought a boat, or got this amazing car, or whatever it was, that we put ourselves such a always comparing ourselves to something else, and not just enjoy the moment that we have now and be in the moment. I think we are losing that considerably, with always being chasing the Joneses on Instagram or whatever that is, comparing ourselves to somebody else. You just have to look at yourself, and like, things are okay, and things will be okay. And give you and the other thing as well, when you have those small victories, you should always celebrate the small victories. Big victories take care of themselves. Like somebody I read somewhere, just to focus on doing one good thing a day that you can say at the end of the night when you put your head on the pillow, when to bed, I made my bed perfectly. That's the one thing was good that day. If nothing else, just focus on something, one good thing that you do a day, whatever that is, and then you build on it, and you kind of slowly, and I think, as you mentioned, is that we are just so good at being bad to ourselves, and not kind of and it's all about self-pity, and we kind of like, this person doesn't like me because that and that, but just trying to stop being that negative communication in your head. Is just when you catch yourself doing it. And I think what I found as well when I went into that self-realization of myself for myself is that the more I did it, the more I was able to pick up those situations when I was being hard on myself. And what would I do then is that I would either like try to go for a walk, or read a book, something like that. because you need to just occupy your brain with something else. Watching something on television, it doesn't work as well, because reading, I felt I had to focus. I had to actually focus on the little letters on the page. So I kind of got myself out of that thinking quite a bit. And then like other people talk obviously about meditation is very strong. If you can focus on that and get into it, I think that's another thing that's very, very, very strong.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of these tools you bring into your life, some will work, some will not. But it's about finding out what works for you and
Absolutely.
changing the narrative and the self-talk. I'm such a proponent of that. That's the difference between success and failure in life, in my opinion. Stefan, my friend, this conversation has been absolutely amazing. Before I ask you my last question, can you please tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and Facebook under High Value Man, and on my website highvalueman.is.
Brilliant. And
Basically,
of
High
course, we'll
Value
put
Man
the
is.
yeah, I love that. And of course, we'll put the links in the show notes for the audience. My
Thank you.
last question for you, my friend. What does it mean to you to be unbroken?
What means to be unbroken is to be a person that shows up, the person that has opinion and knows what he wants out of life. So my kind of when I went on my journey, when I did this realization, I kind of read a lot of books and all that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, for me, is about showing up and knowing what you want out of the situation, and be um, kind of respectful about that. It's not about being arrogant about I want this or something like that. It's about just being a whole human being that shows up in society, and is somebody you want to be around with.
Yeah, I love that. It's about owning your truth and showing up. My
Yeah.
friend, thank you so much for being here. Unbroken Nation, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, tell a friend. And until next time, my friends, be unbroken. I'll see you.
We'll be right back to the show, my friend, but I wanted to let you know about our brand new podcast community for Think Unbroken podcast. I know that for so many trauma survivors like myself, for the longest time, I felt alone, like nobody got it, nobody understood, and that I was just going to have to figure this out on my own. But that's not true. And the reason why we created our brand new Think Unbroken Academy podcast community is so that we can bring all the members of the Unbroken Nation together in a place where we can learn, grow, heal, change, and transform our trauma into triumph. I would love to have you come and be a part of the brand new community. Just check out thinkunbrokenacademy.com or click the link in the podcast description. And I cannot wait to see you there, my friend. Again, just head over to thinkunbrokenacademy.com. And until then, be unbroken. Thank you so much for listening to Think Unbroken. Please share this episode with someone who could use it and help us move forward in our mission of ending generational trauma in our lifetime. And if you would, please take 5 seconds to pop on iTunes or Spotify, hit that 5-star, leave a review, and you can also reach out to us on social at Michael Unbroken or at Think Unbroken. And of course, you can check out our YouTube channel at Think Unbroken. Thank you for being a part of Unbroken Nation, my friends, and until next time, be unbroken. Hey, my friends, we will be right back to the show, but I have a question for you. Are you struggling with the impact of childhood trauma? Well, know that you're not alone. I'm here to let you know that I'm starting a brand new weekly coaching group that includes a year of live coaching, accountability, support, habit and goal setting, and more. I'm starting a waitlist for the group right now, and I'm only taking a handful of people. And I'll let you know that through this personalized coaching, we'll work together to help you understand how your childhood trauma has shaped your beliefs, behaviors, emotions, and will help you create a roadmap for healing and growth. Right now, you can schedule an absolutely free coaching session with me and get put on the wait list if you go to thinkunbroken.com. My friends, it's your time to turn your trauma into triumph, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and become the hero of your own story. And I'm here to support you in doing that. Just go to thinkunbroken.com to register for a free coaching call with me and to get put on the wait list for the brand new weekly coaching program.